to talk about some questions about VA benefits. Our hope is to answer some questions to get you further along on what you're doing, where you are, where you might be stuck, and where Carol and I often see pitfalls or traps. So today we don't really have anything pre-planned to discuss, so we're just going to jump right in. First question we have is from Nazar, 1962. Hello, question. I get 20% disability for degenerative arthritis in my left hip. Now I'm going to get left hip replacement. Can my disability increase for the hip replacement? The answer is yes. You go ahead and put in a claim for that. They should automatically put in a claim for it. I would not wait for that. It's a temporary rating, 100%.
100%. Should be for how long it takes you to recover.
Yeah.
Usually it's a year.
And what you want to do, they're going to reduce you after that. You want to make sure they fully understand any residuals you have as a result of that, so they just don't take you right back to 20.
Well, they won't. I think it's 30. I'm not sure. I think it's 30 they'll go back to. But then if you have any residuals, in other words, if you have, unfortunately, you continue with chronic pain or looseness or any of those things, then you're entitled to a higher rating. So they will just give you an automatic, I don't have the book in front of me, but there's an automatic rating after you have a hip replacement. But if you haven't really improved, then you need to make sure that they examine you.
Yeah. Okay, Fritz, does SMCS only for missing limbs, or does it include other disabilities? It includes all kinds of disabilities. Frankly, you just have to have, there's one of two ways to show it. One, that you have 100% disability and you have other disabilities that combine to 60%, automatically get it, or that you're totally rated and you cannot leave your house except for absolute essentials, go to the doctor, get groceries, stuff like that. So you don't have to have loss of use for that. That's for higher SMCS. Right?
Now you get much more money from the loss of use.
Hippie kayaker, should someone with 100% P&T apply for SSI? Not for SSI. You want to, well,
it's SSA.
Yeah, well, Social Security Disability Income. If you have worked and you've been taxed and put money in the system, then it's SSD. They will know what you're applying for. But SSI is a needs-based system that is very strict on income levels, and they will count the income levels of your service.
Yeah, you would be well over their amount of money. So regular Social Security is what you want. And remember, you have to work and paid Social Security taxes 5 out of the last 10 years. It's not like retirement. You'll get to retirement when you turn the appropriate age, but disability was only for people who are working. So they take the last 10 years that you worked, and you have to have paid enough to have qualified for 5 out of those last 10 years. So you should do that right away. Social Security disability is not something you should wait for. Anybody out there, don't wait until you get approved by VA. Start that claim right away if you can't work.
Okay, Tom Darko, or Mr. Nazar, we did answer your questions. Hopefully you got that. Tom Darko, I just want an attorney to get me what I deserve without having to deal with the scoundrels of VA. So with that, I would say that hopefully you can find an attorney who's, your interface or your buffer, if you will, between you and the VA. So you can kind of live your life, take care of your health, and then that person deal with all the nonsense of the VA. Lauren G, is it better to battle with the ROs for appeals? I have new claims to file and don't want to deal with the BVA yet. It just depends on how complicated your claims are. If there's anything that's nuanced or complex, I'd say you're going to have to go to the board. If they screw up the effective date at the RO, which they seem to be doing a lot, you can try to go to higher level review and hopefully get that right. But if they get it wrong, I would go to the board.
But if you have a new claim, you're going to be at the regional office. I mean, you don't get to go to the BVA. The BVA can only look at something that the regional office has already made a decision on. Okay. But like Matt says, unfortunately, the regional office has their own set of rules, which does not always, which often doesn't comply what we think the law is. And that's why you have to go to the BVA, because they're supposed to be there to know what the law is. So there are certain claims that sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. You are very unlikely to win that at the regional office. You're going to have to go to the BVA. There are a number of claims like that.
Dare I correct you? It's not so much what we think the law is, but what the law actually is.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me.
All right. Arad M. I'm currently TDIU, would like to restart a small business. I was told if I earn more than $11,000, this will affect my TDIU and possibly cancel it. Ephraim, would you put up the regulation? It's 38 CFR 4.16. You can find that
He
on
knows all these.
on the table for disabilities. That's usually on there. So mixed answer there, Rod. One part of the section does say if you earn over the poverty line,
Which is 12, maybe
something like
13, we're
that
not
for
sure.
one person, then they can come after you. But there's a pretty significant caveat there in that if you have a sheltered business, then you can make as much as you want. So if you open a business and you have other people working for you and you're not doing the job, or you are doing the job and you're doing it on your hours, on your time, you're working for the people you want to, you're not, you're not what would be considered a competitive business, meaning like you have to do whatever comes your way. You're not doing a job that if you're working for somebody else, you could keep it full time. So that's the caveat I would look for, because you can work for yourself, and what you would just need to show is what shelters you've given yourself, what accommodations.
Okay, I'd have a couple things to say this. First, unfortunately, that's what the law says. But remember the regional office, they're pretty, they look at numbers. And if your numbers are over that 13,000 or 12,000, they're going to be in touch with you. And unfortunately, usually it's much later. So like 4 years down the road, you may get a letter saying you were no longer entitled to TDIU back 4 years ago. So you need to make sure that that sometimes they're not going to be happy with you, and you may have to go, they may cut you off, and may have to go to the BVA. But the other thing you ought to look at, if you have your own business, remember it's the net income, not the gross. So, when you report to the IRS, you're going to report any actual money you made after you deduct all your costs. Okay. So that allows you to have more gross coming in. You're paying people. It's just the net that you keep that they're going to be looking at.
I'd say you could do it. You just need to be aware of what you're doing. Frankly, keep a log of what accommodations you've given yourself and just go from there. But, you might have VA knocking on your door, but the law is with you. So, I don't know if that gives you the solace you want. MedMundo, disability claim denied over 10 years ago for ankle injuries occurring during active duty. Continue to have issues now. Would this be a new claim? Too late to go back and dispute the old one? Yes, it's a new claim. You need new and relevant evidence to open it.
So this is where you want to get a statement from someone who knew you before and after service to say you didn't have any problems with these ankles, but you did after service. Okay, that's your new and relevant evidence.
Linda Lobb, I have a CMP exam in a few days for general Gulf War medical opinion for chronic fatigue syndrome. I have chronic fatigue. What is an opinion required when it's presumptive? Linda, this is a very frustrating area. It's something they do with Gulf War. I agree with you. If you have a diagnosis of chronic fatigue, then they should grant you benefits without an exam. So here's what you need to do. You go through the exam. If you have a diagnosis from your doctor, take that with you, just so they see that. And then you want to get a copy of the CMP exam, because here's where I see problems. Okay, the doctor with CMP exam a lot of times say she has chronic fatigue syndrome. And then they'll go on to say, but that's not related to service because I don't see anything in the service records, or something happened to her prior service, so therefore it's not related. That's not legitimate. The VA, once they see that diagnosis that you have CFS, they need to grant you benefits. So just be aware of that. If you get the CMP exam, I would write them and say, hey, CMP examiner says I have this, and therefore I should be receiving benefits.
But remember, this is something that they've messed up for years. They're not clear about this. Decades.
All right, Michael JJJ, 100% P&T, physical impairments are rated 100% and static with an additional 100% rating for PTSD, getting paid SMCS, scheduled for a PTSD CMP exam. Why? Overall rating won't change rating if reduced. The rating would change in that it would get rid of the SMCS if you were reduced. So you're getting SMCS right now because the 100% rating you have for PTSD, and then you have a separate rating that just happens to combine to 100% for those other issues. So unless they promote one of those other issues as being 100% or give you IU for the PTSD, then it would be reduced by the $300, $400 for the SMCS. Damon Groves, if I submit.
Can I just say something? I always wanted to say something. I just warn you, I tell my clients that the VA has amnesia. And every time you go in there for PTSD, you have to tell them every single thing that they think is required for a diagnosis of PTSD. So you should download the DBQ, Disability Benefits Questionnaire on PTSD, go to page 4, which is criteria, and make sure you have something for each one of those criteria to talk about. And if they don't ask you about it, mention it yourself. Don't bring the form in with you. Just write down an answer to every one of those criteria. Okay. I always tell you, if you've had suicidal thoughts, make sure they know that. That's a 70% right there. And then it's easier to get up to the 100%. Okay. Look at what they need for 100% and make sure you tell them all the problems that you have that go with that.
She always has something to say, and it's always good. Efrain, will you bring up the DBQs that should be on the VA website? There's quite a few of them, but you'll see what she's saying. There's 2 for PTSD. I think there's one that's for the service connection, which is what she's talking about, and then there's one for increased rating. She wants you to do the one for service connection because they try to undercut you completely on that.
Because they're asked, does the veteran still have the same diagnosis on every one of these exam requests? And some people say, oh, he doesn't have PTSD anymore. I know.
Damon Groves, if I submit new and relevant evidence, but it gets denied, does the year start over or does it continue from the original claim submitted time? Okay, so if you have a new claim, new and relevant evidence, supplemental claims, what they're making you do, you submit it, it's denied. You have a year from that date to submit a higher level review, NOD to the board, or another supplemental claim. Let's say you win that next case. Well, it goes back to the date you first filed that claim if you filed the appeal within a year, okay? Crazy B, I'm 90% multiple disabilities. I have been fighting the VA for treatment. My back and leg pain have gotten worse to the point where I sometimes wish I was dead. Is there anywhere I can turn to get to help? So fighting for treatment would be fighting through the Veterans Health Administration, but especially if you're already service connected for those issues. If you can get your rating up to 100%, then you would have coverage for everything and anything, even if it were not service connected. But as far as getting the health treatment, I would seek out a health advocate at your local clinic or hospital. And, it sounds like you might need to write in there that this is so bad that I could commit suicide, the pain so bad.
But remember, they're supposed to have an appointment within 30 days. The Congress has really been big on this, and they have granted funds for this. So if the VA can't get you in there for whatever you need within 30 days, they have to give you a private doctor, but you have to demand it. And you need to go to the head of the hospital. They're not going to want to talk to you. They'll have some of their minions talk to you, but they'll want to get rid of you. So they'll probably give you what you want. If you don't get it there, go to your congressman. They are really hot on that, and they are mad at the VA when they don't approve that. So demand your rights.
Let's see, Nicholas, how important are buddy letters if you have medical evidence? Buddy letters are always important if you can get them. You're saying, should you ask buddies to do one letter for all conditions or one for each? I'd ask them to do what they can do, what they know, but it has to be something that they are competent to speak to, meaning if they're not a medical person, they can't say, I can see he has cancer. But if they're just a lay person like us, they could say, well, they could say he broke his arm. I saw that he had a cast for however many days.
He had a bad fall. I was parachuting with him.
Yeah, he had a rash. Yeah, all those kind of things.
So they need to say what they see, not what you told them. Okay.
Chair.
The one thing that I like about these buddy statements is, the VA, the regional office is not going to pay any attention to them. But when you get to the BVA, they have to give them credibility. And what the BVA is going to do is they're going to balance one, they have a C&P exam, and then maybe have your doctor's exam. And maybe they decide to go with the C&P exam instead of your doctor. But what are they going to do? They've got to say that these buddy statements were wrong, or they have to fine for you. So if you have really good buddy statements, that really helps your case.
Cherub Fox, I just missed your question. Hello, I recently appealed my rating and won. However, 2 appealed claims were disregarded and not reviewed. How should I proceed? Thank you for your assistance, the veterans community. I would proceed by writing them a letter saying these claims are on appeal. I'd attach the appeal and saying that they have not been decided. Please decide them. It could be that they're reviewing them for further, for looking for further information, but if they haven't put them on the rate decision, I would definitely.
Here's another thing that happened just yesterday. I wrote a letter saying what's going on. This remand's from 2018 and you haven't handled it. And they went back and said the veteran didn't show up for his C&P exam, which was a week ago. The veteran never got any notification. So, that's why you need to let them know, I'm here, I'm ready, what's going on.
Alonzo, I have been denied several times for asthma. What evidence do I need to submit in a supplemental form? Ask for not previously used evidence. Okay, so if you've been denied under this new AMA deal, they should tell you what their favorable findings are, meaning like, did they give you a diagnosis of asthma? Did they find something happened in service? Those are the things they should give you. And you want to look at, well, what did they not address? They say there was no records in service. And that's what you want to try to speak to. Okay, you gave me a diagnosis of asthma, great. Here's what happened in service. You didn't consider it. Here's a buddy statement showing what happened in service. So that's where you want to start if you've applied and been denied in the last, 2 years now. So, all right, Bill McGrath. I went to C&P for peripheral neuropathy, both legs, claim is golf ball related. Has VA been approving at a regional level? I don't think so for that, unless you have something, in writing in your service records. John Gonzalez, if I was denied PTSD, can I try again? Yes, you can try again on any issue of trying to get service connected or trying to get a higher rating. So let's see, what was the other one here? Okay, sane one, Chuck. Having issues with my feet, flat, dried up, now pain when I walk, been denied and have no history in my medical records. It seems useless to keep fighting on. So Chuck, I think if you don't have anything in your records, that the best next thing, and frankly maybe the only thing, is to get statements from buddies or folks who saw you in service, who noticed problems you were having, and that's where you might need to be. Anomastalic. She's laughing at me. I'm never good at these. Is any condition claimable within 1 year after active duty, or only specific conditions? So you're talking about presumptive chronic conditions. And there is a list, and that is 38 CFR 3.309. There's a list down there. It could be 307, could be wrong. There's a list in one of those that shows all the disabilities that can be claimed within a year. Some of those disabilities are more than a year, 2 years. I think even MS is up to 7
years.
So it's not any condition. It has to be a chronic condition. However, if you're filing something within a year, hopefully there's evidence in service that it was going on.
Right.
Okay.
So file it.
Yeah, file it now. Marcia Weir, what do you need to do for sinus/burn pit claims? I believe that's one of the three. That's one of the
file a claim.
File it now. This is how it works. They've put out the regulation to say it should be presumptively service connected. They have to do this thing called the comment and question period. Okay, it's a 90-day window where anybody can list a comment or make a question about the regulation. Then they close that period and they have to go back and address every single question. So in a favorable regulation like this, I would hope there would not be that many, but they still have to fulfill that law. And so it could take a little while longer, but filing it now is important because still get the effective dates from now.
You'll be paid, okay, from the date after the month after you filed.
Okay, so let's see. Where did I just go back? Okay, Nicholas got rated 30% for PTSD, but wasn't as forthcoming as I should have been, as I am embarrassed, and doctor didn't try to dig deeper. I'm within a year. Should I file a supplemental and ask for an increase? I think so. I wouldn't ask for an increase. I'd say that the rating's wrong. You're challenging the rating. If you ask for an increase, they're going to give it to you the date that you asked for the increase. That's hard. It's hard to volunteer such intimate information with a complete stranger. And unfortunately, a lot of those strangers don't have very good bedside manner.
No.
So you might want to write it out. And the thing about a 30% rating is that it deals mostly with night terrors, flashbacks, problems like that, which are usually the most vivid for veterans, which just stops them in their day. But at 50%, 70% deals more with how you interact with other people, any kind of problems with
anger, trust, hypervigilance,
suicide, Carol said earlier. So I would definitely do that because the VA likes to latch on to those issues of sleep problems and say, oh yeah, this is the main problem. And then they severely underrate you.
So you should get a letter from someone who knows you, spouse, parent, somebody think that they have another view of you. And that will help because it will round out what you're telling the VA. I had a client who they kept reviewing him. He was 100% for PTSD and they kept reviewing him. And I said, you're not going to get permanent and total. The problem is he was so upset going to these CMP exams that we take all these tranquilizers. So he was kind of just he was not really functioning very well. And I said, you've got to let this happen at least once. Go without that so that we can get the permanent and total. I mean, this has been going on for 10 years. So I urge you to let them see what's going on in your life. Don't mask it with medication.
Jeremy Thompson, 2 of 2. I didn't see a prior one. So, okay. If I get my regular doctors to submit findings that dispute the findings of a CMP and file supplemental claim, will they reconsider with that new evidence? Yes, that is new evidence.
It's great new evidence.
Yeah, that's strong. John E. Gonzalez, do I need to have a VA doctor diagnose me with PTSD or can I go to any doctor? So here's how it's a bit of a game. The VA regional office wants one of their doctors to give the initial diagnosis. So if you come in with your doctor, you say, here's a diagnosis of PTSD. If you say, okay, that's great, we're going to send you our doctor. And even if your doctor is a VA doctor, they're still going to send them to your doctor, their doctor, which ironically is a contract CMP exam.
Right.
Okay. So what I try to do is get that claim reopened and try to get the VA to get that CMP exam. Okay. And, I'm a little jaded in that I think they're going to screw it up. And if they screw it up, what I do is get a copy of the CMP exam, and then I take it to my doctor at that point and say, hey, do you agree with this? If not, why? And that way you have the last medical word before that decision's made. Okay. So short answer is yes, they want their doctor to do it. It's not really the law, but the regional office is going to do it that way.
I encourage my clients to go to the VA and try to get them to give them the PTSD diagnosis that they need, because a lot of these doctors are reviewing what's in your VA files. And if they already have VA doctors saying you have PTSD, a lot of them feel more comfortable in giving that diagnosis. If there's no diagnosis in your VA file, that's when they're more concerned about what they should do.
Right. Tom Darko, I have SSDI and have 10% ratings, have several surgeries at the VA and carpal tunnel syndrome surgeries. They want to do next, I believe, should be 100%. Does being on SSDI help? So I'm not quite got that straight, understood that, Tom, but if you're on SSDI for a service cognitive disability, you should be fighting to get 100% or unemployability for that and any combination of other disabilities. Are they going to give it to you right away? I don't know. It just depends on the scenario, but that should be a 1-to-1. It's not. These two agencies say we evaluate disabilities differently, but I would be fighting for that.
The Social Security law is it should be considered as highly relevant, but it's not controlling.
Caesar Donis, I was advised by VA benefits employee that I could move status from IU to P&T 100% in order to be paid as a caregiver of my mother at home in order for my benefits not to be affected. I don't know that your benefits should be affected, but if you can do that and get to 100%, I don't see why not, as long as you're not battling out with the VA. I think, works for me. Tap out. I enjoy your channel. Thank you. I am 100% P&T. Should I go after presumptive sinusitis? I have OSA on supplemental claim lane. We'll be getting SC for sinusitis, make it easier to get OSA service connected. Sleep apnea is just a hard claim. They deny it on a secondary basis almost across the board. So I don't know that it would help you. And honestly, I don't know, unless you're 100% for one issue, I don't know what these ratings would give you. I mean, if it's 100% for one issue, then you get the special monthly compensation S level, which is another $300 or $400 a month. But I don't know.
Well, if sinusitis is going to be presumptive, get it and just see what you get. Remember, they're only going to pay you if you get sleep apnea. They're only going to pay you for the higher rating, whether it's for sleep apnea, which it probably will be, or sinusitis. But then you have an argument as well that the sleep apnea could have been caused by the sinusitis. So I think it helps you to get that.
Okay. Animalistic, does nightmares of being on a sinking ship count for anything? Well, that would go to a mental health condition, I would say, and PTSD was what would jump out. If you were on one in service, then I definitely would apply for that. If you just have those, I don't know that would.
And you do need to show how it relates to service.
Bill McGrath, can new and relevant evidence be a statement from a spouse, ex-spouse? Absolutely.
Yes.
Bradley Gebby, how can,
especially ex-spouses.
Yeah, they tend to tell the truth.
They tend to tell the truth, and the VA tends to listen to them.
How can PTSD at 10% have all the signs? How can I be 10% for PTSD, but have all the signs of higher rating? What you have is a VA
bad rating
trying to underrate you. So you need to appeal that.
Right.
Joe, I have been having issues with vertigo since discharge. I was diagnosed with tinnitus. Can vertigo be secondary? Yes, they will probably
absolutely
fight that, and you might need your own doctor to say something like that.
Buddy statements are really important here.
Yeah. All right, JT, I am 100% IU. I want to go to my own dentist for implant instead of a VA dentist. Is that possible? That's under TRICARE, right? Or is it?
If you have you can use your own insurance if that's what you're asking, but you can't direct the VA. You can ask them, but they aren't compelled to send you to the dentist you want.
Yeah. If you were 50 miles from care or something like that, then you probably should be able to get it. John Patty, if your injury is noted in your medical records and you were treated for that illness while on active duty, shouldn't that be enough evidence for service connection? Seems logical to me. John, there's no such thing as logical here.
Yeah, remember who you're dealing with here.
That's great for showing your in-service incident, which is frankly the hardest part, but you still have to have a current disability diagnosed, and then you have to have a nexus between the two. And I've seen them, even we have a
nexus, meaning what happened in the service is what caused the present problem,
or is temporally related. But
yeah, I've seen the CMP exams who say whatever happened in service healed, is gone, and this is a new injury. So unfortunately, you're right, and you need to continue this, but that's what we see in a lot of these CMP exams.
I agree. Alfred, are Q claims hard to win for back pay? I'm 100% P&T owed from 79 to 2018. Appreciate your opinion. Yes, Q claim is the highest standard that you go up against. For anybody else filing a claim, it's as likely as not. So basically, tie goes to the veteran. For a Q claim, you have to show that with clear and unmistakable evidence of the law at the time and the evidence used at the time that you should have won. Okay. We see claims that you can win on that. Well, say you can win on an earlier effective date where the VA failed to get all your service records or your service medical records, and you had a claim back then, you can open it up to go back to that time period. Or if you had an open claim or open appeal, meaning you had that 79 case and they just didn't, that they
make a decision,
or they didn't decide on your appeal. But as far as Q, really the only areas I see in that situation are if they say it pre-existed service and they didn't follow the right law, or aggravated by service and didn't follow the right law, or sometimes there's a reduction, but that wouldn't apply to here. So hard case.
But having said that, Brian won one that's back to 1957. 56.
Yeah, that was
this week
case for us. Yeah.
So you can do that. And remember, don't mix up, because a lot of us do, Q versus open claims. So as Matt was saying, Q means they're going to re-examine the exact same evidence, the law, everything as it existed. An open claim means a lot of things. Maybe they didn't make a decision. Maybe it's still sitting there. Or maybe they reduced you and they shouldn't have, or maybe they severed that. I had one, we went back to the 50s, that they granted him service connection for mental and then they severed him. And that was wrong. So we were able to go all the way back. So make sure you know whether you're pursuing a Q claim, an open claim, what exactly, because each one is more or less difficult depending on what it really is.
You definitely need the claims file to do that.
Yes.
Gregory Castle submitted a claim for back pain with relevant med docs. VA wants my entire medical record. Do I have to give them non-relevant med docs? You don't have to do anything. I mean, they should ask you where you get treatment and you just fill out a form saying that, and they go get it. And so that's that's kind of what
They actually don't go get it. They send let's be honest here, they send a letter to the doctor telling them, I'm not going to pay you anything for these records, send them to me. And most doctors throw that in the trash. So unless they're willing to pay for them, most of the time they won't get them themselves. So you want to put in everything you think is important.
See, Jeremy Lambert, your people are rude. Call me at 6 a.m. Then when I call you to ask you not to call me at 6 a.m., your reps get combative. I guess you're not interested in West Coast business. Jeremy, I'm sorry.
I apologize.
About that. We represent people from all over the U.S. and we try hard in our software to mark where people are, not to call them early. We do have people who are ambitious to help vets, and they miss that. So I apologize
I apologize too, but I have to tell you, that's the one thing I'm always petrified that I'm doing. I get so excited about calling somebody, and I call them, I realize, oh my God, it's 3 hours difference. So I apologize. I can tell you, I don't do it on purpose. I just apologize.
So sorry about that. Frank, what percentage do you need for drop foot for loss of use? Thanks.
60% for drop foot. Loss of use is different for drop foot.
You can get loss of use for it.
You can get loss of use for it, but drop foot alone is 60% for that leg.
And then you get special monthly compensation
Exactly.
on top of that, which is K, which is like $100 and something a month. So it's an additional payment. But yeah. Okay. 2016, I'm already 100% service connected, and I just received hearing aids for my service connected hearing loss. Should I submit a claim for special pay? She and I are different on this. I say no, but she always likes to get as many things service connected as possible. So she would say yes. I would say
is the hearing loss. So you're service connected for what?
We don't know. 100%.
Okay, but so the hearing loss has to be service connected for you to file a claim.
Yeah.
And the point is, how bad is your hearing loss? If your hearing loss is going to, remember, hearing losses, VA is tougher on giving ratings for that, I think, than anything. So if your hearing loss isn't going to give you like a combined 60%, or you can't combine it to get you the S, or you're not just absolutely deaf, which would get you a really good SMC, I don't see I don't know that you need to see is it going to help you? That's the bottom line financially.
Martinson, I have CMP exams for med board, but the doctor didn't put what I said during the exam in her report. What should I do? You need to submit a statement right away to the VA saying, this is what I told them. I've read the exam. This is not in there. I'd almost ask for another exam, because you want a service record showing what happened to you, what was going on. Okay. Because the VA is going to say, well, there's nothing in service now because the doctor didn't say that. So this would be to DOD though. So I would complain to whatever department did the exam and get that in your record. And then on top of that, get a record of, or try to get a new exam. Okay, let's see. Martin, Phil, I went in front of a VBA judge, and the judge remanded my appeal back to the VA for correcting their ruling due to the wrong decision. VA denied in 4 hours. Wow. So make sure you appeal that back to the VBA. You have to choose again. You have to file an NOD, choose hearing lane, choose direct lane or evidence. I would not choose the hearing lane. If you need new evidence, choose the evidence lane. All right. Sane one, Chuck. Thank you. I will do that. Appreciate your help. Medmundo, how do you file for chronic pain claim? What's required? Well, you file the claim, say, hey, I have this.
Where?
I would describe exactly where in the body, how often you have it, what it feels like, and then they need to do the CMP exam on that. Okay.
But they're going to want specifics. Where's the pain? When did it start? How bad is it? What does it keep you from doing?
Okay. Jerome, excuse me. It was because of your YouTube vids that made me seek out your rep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for, I know we frustrated you, I guess, with the early calls. Chris, I was in an accident 30 years ago in the military. It's documented in my files, was denied comp by CMP because he said I had a lapse of 7 years of not being treated by a doctor. Should I appeal? Yes. And I would write a statement. Excuse me, as Carol said, have any other buddies write a statement as well of that period, of if you were suffering from problems or not. And that's a baloney. I see that, fortunately, we see that a lot, where they say, oh, well, there's a lapse in treatment, therefore he couldn't have had it then, which is ridiculous. So definitely write a letter, and I'd have somebody around you write a letter.
Remember, they're looking for continuity. So that, yes, it happened in the service and I continue to have problems. I went to the doctor, those records are no longer available, or I couldn't afford to go to the doctor. I didn't know the VA would see me because maybe they wouldn't during that time. So just outline what happened and then have a buddy statement as well.
Okay, so where are we? Sorry, Caesar, who can tell me if my TDIU is static? I was granted IU back in 2015. I would order what's called your code sheet, which is on the back of your rating decision. They never send it out to vets, but it's a page that basically shows everything you've applied for, what your ratings have been through the years, and then everything you're service connected for. IU would be at the bottom, and it should speak to that. It should either say static or not.
DEA, if it says DEA benefits granted,
then that's considered static, right? Phil Morgan, judge stated if I correct TED, it would be in favor of veteran.
if I what?
I don't know what TED is. Phil, okay, I went to VA judge. They're ruling. Phil, I'm not sure what TED is. Franny, if you put that in there, would you bring that back to my attention, please? It's Kevin S. Going for 100% PTSD scheduler rating, but still working. Well, a letter from my employer stating how I'm accommodated help. What should the letter say? Okay, so here's the thing. If it talks about accommodations, that could also be unemployability. Okay,
Right.
because that's called sheltered employment. If he's giving you breaks that other people aren't getting, that's unemployability.
And remember, the VA, for whatever reason, is much easier. They will give that when they won't give the 100% schedule.
It's hard to get, and it's hard to get for some reason while you're working, even though you should. But he should speak to any problems you have as far as outbursts in the work area,
Having to leave,
having to leave,
concentration, memory.
yeah, problems with you, having to leave all the time. I would go from that. So that it's a little bit harder. Okay.
Went in from the
anything.
okay.
All right. No, that was okay. Alex, I submitted supplemental claims with private DDQs and nexus letters, but VA still requested CMP exam. I just asked the VA an official request to adjudicate my claim without CMP exam. Can they deny my claim?
Yes.
And this is what I was talking about earlier, which is so frustrating. You come with the claim ready to be decided. You've done their work for them. You've gone out and got all these opinions, and they look at it and say, okay, that's nice. Now go see our doctors, which will probably sabotage your claim. So it is frustrating.
Some people call it the duty to sabotage.
Duty to assist.
But they tell us that it's the duty to assist. So they don't assist you at all until you get good evidence. And then the duty to assist comes up and they have to send you to one of their doctors, but you have to go.
Yeah.
I would bring that report from your doctor and I would make sure that they see how you treat your family when you wished you hadn't. Don't go in there and be the guy's buddy. You need to let them see what's going on in your life.
Israel, I used to go to counseling for PTSD, anxiety, and depression, but never got officially diagnosed by it. Will documentation of that help me with my claim? I'm assuming you're out of service. If you're in service, it doesn't matter if you're diagnosed or not. You went to counseling. That's great. It shows something that's going on in service. You need to get officially diagnosed, but that documentation could help just for the doctor to kind of lay the predicate, lay the groundwork showing the problem you were having.
Exactly.
Okay. Stephen, I'm 90% with 2 claims deferred. Just received an increase for diabetic neuropathy, all extremities. Now I'm feeling tingling and numbness in my lips and gums. Can I get another increase? You can, but you're talking about a separate claim there. I mean, if that just happened, then I don't think that would be an appeal, but at the same time, that could help you get to 100%. So, you might want to, I'd say file that. Jeremy Lambert, I'm successful in filing my own claim, now 90% and IU for 10% and 100%, but I want 100% without IU. I'm sorry, I keep on saying Jeremy. Jerome, it's just hard. The closer you get to 100%, the harder it is. So let's say you're at 100%, I'm sorry, 90% straight, meaning like it's not 92 or 88. Well, the 10% rating is just 10% of the leftover that's healthy, meaning you're 90% disabled. Well, that means you're 10% healthy. Well, they're going to take 10% of 10%. So you're at you're what, 91% there.
So in other words, they take what's left of your body. So at 90%, only 10% is left, and they times it times the new rating. So you would have to get a 50% rating times 10, which would make it 95, which rounds up to 100.
But that 90% could very well be an 85% rating. So, I hate math. But if you get that 50% rating there, that's a 7% increase. It only gets you 90%, 92%. So
it's a lot harder than you think.
It's extremely frustrating, but
But
you can think and dunk if you have it. Yeah. Andrews.
And that's why you need to research all of the problems that are complications of the service-connected problems you have, and make sure you filed for them.
I agree. Okay, Andrews, let's see, is aid and attendance for permanent and total veterans a claim? Is aid and attendance for permanent and total veterans a claim? Yes. Or is it a benefit? Oh,
It's both.
Yeah.
You claim it to get a benefit. So aid and attendance is going to get you SMCL, and that's going to get you up into the $4,000 range of income a month.
I think it's 3,600.
3,600. Well,
something like that.
I always build them up: erectile dysfunction, SMCS, and then SMCL.
Okay. I'm 40 years old and require aid and attendance for 2 active daily living. Is the benefit also, does this benefit also get reevaluated? All benefits can get reevaluated. Okay.
Except remember, we can get reevaluated. They are
20% or 20 years, but still.
Remember, so 10% after, if you had it for 10 years, the service connected is permanent unless you can show fraud. They can show fraud. And after 20 years, the rating is permanent unless they can show fraud. So it's a long time where they have and they can always reevaluate if they think there's fraud.
Yeah. Multiple Marcy 2, I was diagnosed with APKD. I'm currently going through MEB for psoriasis and Humira. Are kidney diseases rated differently, and what would my rating look like for both conditions?
It depends on how bad it is, but yes, kidney would be totally in addition to the arthritis. So that's going to definitely, you want both of those rated.
Yeah.
Kidney disease is big. Kidney's big. Once you have a kidney problem, you're usually up at 60% right away.
Yeah. Barbara Watt, my husband is 100% P&T. He is treated for sleep apnea. Can he file for SMC? You don't really file for SMC on that. What you would file is a claim for sleep apnea. And if that claim got him up to 50% and you had another rating that was 10%, I guess, then he could get to it 60%, which would give him SMC. But it's more just filing the claim, and is that related to one of the service-connected disabilities, or is it straight related to VA? So I can look at those things first.
Yes, that can get you an SMC. Yes.
But he's not filing for SMC, he's filing for service.
Right.
All right, Stephen Lewis. I have a letter on the VA website that says I'm not eligible for total disability and unemployability. Okay, Stephen, I'm sorry if this refers to something else, but that sounds like a denial. And if you think you are, then I would apply.
Yeah, you mean appeal?
But yeah, appeal. She's right. Sorry. Okay, I just scrolled way too far down. Okay. Bradley, how can a bilateral flat foot problem not be approved with document of medical issue infantry? So again, this goes back to what Carol said. You have something that happened in service, which is great because that's the hardest thing to show. And you have a current diagnosis, it sounds like, but they're going to say, well, we want to see continuity of the condition. We want to see continuity of the disability. And if they can poke holes in that, show that, oh, well, you had a 5-year stint where you didn't treat, or that your doctor said, oh, this has gone away, then they're going to try to say that there's no nexus, there's no bridge between the two.
But that's not a strong argument for them. If you can get a doctor to say, this has been going on, this is related to service, it's the same thing, that's going to help you a lot. And, it always helps to explain medical treatment. I mean, we all know doctors don't keep medical records for longer than they have to, which is either 5 or 7 years, depending on the state you're in. So you need to outline what's happened. I couldn't afford a doctor. The VA wouldn't treat me. I went to a doctor, but the records aren't available. The more you tell along that line to the VA, the more helpful it is. I continued to have the problem. Here's why there are no medical records.
Stephen Lewis, we got your full question, I believe. I have a letter from the VA website that states I'm not eligible for total disability and unemployability. I was hit by a car in 1989. I submit a claim for both my knees and I have been denied twice on one appeal. Can I request a higher review? Yes, of course you can request higher review, but we can't put the cart before the horse, okay? You got to get service connected first. You got to show that you're entitled to benefits. And think of unemployability, just like 100%, it's actual rating you're going for, okay? So you got to show that the needs are related to service. And then once you've done that, then you're looking for the proper
So
rating.
here's the new change that's come up with this new AMA. Before, if you filed for unemployability and you filed for service connected for your knees, no one would permanently deny the unemployability. They'd say it was part of the ongoing claim. They don't do that anymore. When you appeal to the BVA, they're taking the position now that at the time of the appeal, if you didn't have one rating at 60% or combined at 70%, then you weren't eligible for unemployability. And therefore, they're going to deny it. They're not going to send it back and wait and see what happens. So don't go up to the BVA until you have either the single rating of 60% or the combined rating of 70%. So there's a basis for the IU. You're just wasting your time with the BVA.
It's that time. I filed for Hodgkin's lymphoma and monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance. Don't say I can't read medical terms. But they only gave me 100% for Hodgkin's lymphoma and said nothing about the MGUS. Again, you're getting max benefits. Well, you could guess MC here, but I would follow up with them and say, I at least want a decision on this.
Right.
They're just totally leaving that out. Then they should be giving you a decision unless they buried that in the Hodgkin's lymphoma rating. Sometimes you'll see they'll do that. They'll say, it's part of this, and we're just giving you one rating for both. So just,
make sure you know what the appeal should be.
Yeah.
Do you have depression because of that? Missed it.
I apologize. How far back could you not hear us? Okay. All right. Okay. Hopefully it's that time you heard what we said. We can answer it at the end if you didn't. JX, does the VA combine separate claims conditions under the PTSD rating? I have diagnosis for persistent depressive disorder, anxiety, as well as PTSD. I'm currently 70% for PTSD. So with PTSD, any mental health condition, they rate the symptoms. They will put those axis 1 diagnoses all to not together. Well, they will look at all together and say, which is the most severe? And that's what they'll rate. They will not give you ratings for the other ones because they consider that pyramid, because you're up here for 70 for PTSD. And even if these are 30, 50, whatever, they're only going to give you the highest rating. So that's how that comes together.
But some of it, then depression is part of the PTSD and anxiety. So they just lump them all together in some cases. But that's mental. Physical, they should not be lumping things together.
Okay. Lamar,
Okay, the cancer question.
Yeah, so it's that time. Sorry, I was monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance.
Got it again.
I did it.
I
did it. They only gave you 100% for Hodgkin's lymphoma, but said nothing about the MGUS. What we were saying is make sure they didn't bury the MGUS in the decision for the lymphoma. Sometimes they'll sneak that in there and just say that it's one and the same. If they did not, then you need to write them a letter and say, you have not given me a decision on this. Carol's point was with lymphoma, they can rate you at 100% and then drop you to zero if you quit treatment or if you're going to remission. So you definitely want a rating for both of those, separate ratings if you can show separate.
And you want to file any ratings that are connected to that, like depression is a very likely one, erectile dysfunction, anything else that seems to be related to this, so that you have other conditions that are going to help you keep this rating up. Okay.
Lamar, do you have to file a limited motion muscle strain for both arms and legs and neck and back, or just getting diagnosed or is that getting diagnosed in the CEP exam? Also, my muscle strains, my primary care provider diagnosed as muscle pain. To help yourself, I would put all that in there. I'd say, here's my problems, here's the symptoms, and they need to come up, they, the CEP examiners need to come up with the diagnosis and then, show the symptoms, but I wouldn't play hide the ball on that.
No, I wouldn't. You need to be very specific about all the areas involved.
Jeremy Thompson, for new burn pit changes, if previously denied for asthma, SOB, allergies, nasal surgery because of no service connection, do I need to file new evidence or just supplemental reconsideration? I would file a claim just saying the law has changed. Here's my disabilities. I was in theater and go from there.
I filed a claim before and was denied. Okay. They have to write letters to people that they've denied. And I don't know if they are or not, but I wouldn't wait around for that.
Right. V-SNEED, should I put in an intent to file when I gather my medical records to request increase in compensation or file new claims? You should, I would file, but you can put an intent to file if for some reason you
don't have everything. Don't wait to file while you're gathering everything, because your benefits, you're losing benefits. So that's why the intent to file is a great thing to file if you're not ready. You have a year to file, but don't not file anything.
Agreed. Blowtorch. Great live sleep apnea diagnosis. Great live sleep apnea diagnosis after service. Nothing in my medical records. Can my wife's statement count towards snoring like a bear?
Absolutely.
Yes. Hopefully y'all were married in service and she can show it then as well. Okay. Jody Stovall, thanks for all the great info. Jody, thanks for being here.
We're supposed to say, please like us. That will help. Keep forgetting.
It also gets you here in time because we never seem to start at the same time. So let's like us and then click there's some notification, something like that. Jerome Lambert. Okay, so 70% TBI, and 10% facial scars, 10% for tinnitus is 90%. Becoming incontinent and want to upgrade on TBI. Okay, so first of all, Ephraim will throw down the calculator that we have. Just kind of showing how all these get put together. You need to file the incontinence claim ASAP.
Yes.
Okay. Because even if you're not fully incompetent, if you had pads, if you're using the bathroom multiple times a day, getting up multiple times a night, there are ratings for those. And that should get you there. It gets you higher rating. What's 70% of 70%?
Well, the thing is,
30.
are you still working? That's a question.
Well, but he doesn't want to be IU. I think he wants to get straight 100%. That we spoke about this a little earlier. Okay, so
well, you want the SMCT if you could get that. My God, that's $9,000 a month for a 70% TBI rating.
Well, yeah, if you can show you need the assistance of another person to kind of get through your daily life, and if you need that person to help you, any medical problems, then as Carol said,
remember your medicine, remember going to the doctor.
Yeah, that would get you up to the max rating on SMC, which is
SMC 10 T. That's really, that's the highest rating you can get and the highest money you can get.
I'm just trying to do some math here. So if he has 30% left over and he gets a 70% rating.
Well, he has a 10, didn't he say?
Hold on, but it's 70 for PTSD and 70 for TBI. So the 70% rating of 30% is 3 times 7. So that's 21%. So that's puts you at 91%, and then 10% for facial scars. 10% of 9 is
so he's close.
So he's and then another 10%. So yeah, you're at 93, 94%. So even if you got just 10% on the incontinence, then yeah, you should get 100%. But as Carol said, that could be just like
that's no money.
At the sand when you have the whole ocean in front of you.
Right.
Benefits. Okay. So just look at those as well. Okay. Kindleless drum goal.
We are so bad at names. I apologize. My name's Ponton, and no one could ever figure that out either.
I had a previous exam for migraines and got tension headaches, so I appealed and got the same results. Should I go for a third time and add a buddy letter? Yes.
Yes.
I mean, if this is related to service, do not stop just because they deny it. They will deny. But if this is what you have, you need to push for it.
Remember, here's the rating: 10% if you have one at least once a month. 30% if you have to lie down, whether it's on a bed or a chair or whatever, because they're so disabling, and 50% if you have economic loss, if you couldn't work because of them.
Or you can work, but you have to leave work early.
Have to leave work early. So remember, it's not just getting the service connected, it's getting the rating. Okay.
Mario Williams, I recently had a CMP for SMCL aid in attendance. If I also have loss of use of both hands and a foot, if I'm awarded SMCL, will the VA automatically award me SMCR1 if I qualify? Not automatically.
No.
So you got to show, this is tricky because you need to show that the aid in attendance is not for the hands or the feet. You got to show us for some other disability. And then if that happens, then those two automatically go up to, well, it goes up to O, but if you should have aid in attendance, then it goes up to R1. But it's tricky there. So if you take the loss of use of the hands or loss of use of hands should be SMCM by itself, period. Okay. So if you have SMCM by itself, and then you can show through other issues, which you could use the loss of foot and any other issues that you need aid in attendance regardless of your hands, then at that point you would be up in the R's.
So maybe 2 DBQs for aid in attendance, one for things regarding your hands, which would be easy to do, and the other for other service connected things that are not related to your hands. So if you can show 2 needs for aid in attendance, totally separate service connected problems, that ought to get you up there.
I agree. Complicated issues though, for sure.
Yeah.
It's that time. Does burning oil fire fields? I just put the whole thing on. Getting a little tired here. From first call for approved my service connection for sinusitis, waiting for decision. With the first war, I believe you need to show where you were and that there was burning oil wells that you were around. But if you can prove that, that causes all kinds of problems, and sinusitis is one of them. KU, do injuries that occurred in OTS before commission count as service connected injury?
Whoa, I'm not sure.
Paid by the DoD.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that it does. Because remember, Sarah's cousin.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
His wife's cousin was injured at West Point very badly. Her knees playing soccer, and that's service connected.
D, is athlete's foot 10%? If so, how do you get service connection? Again, you just have to show what happened in service. Did you have it in service? Was it performing in service? And do you have it now as far as the diagnosis? And then you get the rating. I don't know the exact rating.
I don't either.
To be honest. Jeremy Thompson, remember, only consistent thing about federal agencies is inconsistency. That's where the bumper sticker. Lonnie Brinson, I'm rated SMCM, loss of use of both feet, and 100% valid incontinence. If I get rated for aid in attendance, what will be the higher SMCB? You get a step up, but with aid in attendance, if you get aid in attendance for separate issues, not feet, not bowel incontinence, frankly, you can use the bowel incontinence for the aid in attendance in this issue. And then that would give you an SMCL with an SMCM, which would bump you up to the SMCR. So y'all are pouring out stops here. This is not easy stuff. So you get SMCM just for the feet. Okay. 100% for the bowel, you should get a step up of SMCM and a half. But if you can use that bowel with any other service connected issues to show SMCL, then you kind of jump right up to the R's. Let's see, Prince Appard, then I'm 100% IU and 90% temporary disabled. How would I move to 100%? So, excuse me, how would I move to permanent? Well, it depends on what that the IU or the temporary disability is. If it's because you just had surgery, or you were in the hospital for 21 days, or there's some other issue like cancer where you're
going to be rated again if they see improvement.
So you just need to know what it is that the problem is, and then when you go see the CMP examiner, be ready to show them, hey, this hasn't gotten better, or this has actually gotten worse, and you go from there.
But they're only going to do it permanent if they think it's never going to change.
Right. Benson, my doctor diagnosed me with flat feet, and he believed that I've had it all my life. During my physical in the service, it was noted that I had normal arch. What would be the best approach to filing a claim? Well, again, if you have it noted in service, you file the claim and you have it now. Your doctor is not a help here. I would suggest you don't enlist him in your claim.
He said you had it all your life. That means pre-service.
Well, it means pre-service, but the fact that it was listed as normal on your entrance exam, the VA can't just willy-nilly say, oh, this pre-existed, because the DoD accepted you with normal feet. Okay, so you can just show your claim, and if they deny you, you have something that's called the presumption of soundness, which is, oh my gosh, 38 CFRs, 1151, no, 1153 or 1154. And that basically says that the VA can't come in and say your disability pre-existed service unless they can show through clear and unmistakable evidence. And so if they can do that, great, but the burden is on them, not you.
And they try to do this over and over again. Say that in one of your medical examinations, you said you'd had it all your life or something like that. They can't use that.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, we're about
50.
Okay. Tom Darko, the VA gives you medicine and you report the side effects, the PCP, and they have you continue. And then you have a violent tremor and break your ribs. Is VA liable? Yes, that's called
1151.
That's an 1151. So that's 38 CFR 1151. And that,
or you could just Google.
Yeah, VA medical malpractice, basically. And there could be a so you should look to get medical benefits and disability benefits through the VA on that. But you also could see if there is a mass tort on that, to where the manufacturer of that drug knew the side effects and didn't tell everybody.
Right.
So those are two different things you need to pursue. Okay, we're gonna do a couple more here. Koss, I'm not gonna butcher your last name. Two physicians state back injuries more likely than not related to military service. Yet VES evaluation states otherwise, resulted in being denied. How should I proceed without any new information? Okay, order the C&P exams, see what they said versus what your doctor said. And you can try to argue the difference, saying, hey, this guy just checked a bunch of boxes. He didn't ask me this, he didn't ask me that. These doctors knew me and saw me and did a review. Okay, so that's how you would do it without adding new evidence. You're frankly just critiquing the evidence. And if you do that, that would be, an argument letter that would let you do a higher level review instead of filing a new claim.
Or a duty to assist. You could ask that at the higher level. You could say that
That's crap, yeah.
That these doctors say this, and this C&P examiner did not ask me these questions. I don't feel I got a competent. They're going to give you another C&P exam. They're not just going to award you.
That's true.
So ask for a better C&P exam and make sure that doctor sees the letters from both of your doctors.
Okay, a few more, and folks we haven't spoken to yet. Truth Speaks group. Do you need to be diagnosed with PTSD first before filing a claim for PTSD by way of MST? Yeah, no, you don't.
Never wait to file. Never.
Again, that's the duty to assist, where they send you a C&P exam and they should get you a diagnosis there. But I would be active in trying to find one for my own doctor as well. But as Carol said, file.
And remember, there's going to be a while. You don't file and then they give you a C&P exam the next day. There's a delay, so you have time.
Okay, Alfred Trejo, my brother, Army vet, saved 2 soldiers from drowning in Germany. He has sleep apnea, had sleep apnea test at Long Beach VA. What's he looking at? If he gets rated and he has a CPAP, then he's at 50%.
Remember, if he has a BiPAP, it's 100%. And the VA misses that all the time. Okay, so make sure you know, if you're service connected, what you're using.
Okay, let's go 1 or 2 more here. Vicki Mitchell, I have a 0% service connected. What should I do? You need to look at the actual rating code for that. If you meet the higher levels, then you appeal. If you're still under, still in that time frame, and then say, I have this, that, and the other things as far as symptoms. Okay, it's that time. I have 2 disabilities, each rated 100%. Should I be rated SMCS? Yes. And frankly, you might already be, and you just not know it because they're not very good at telling about SMC issues. All right. Let's see. Just trying to find the last one. Say that again. Okay.
Shout out
to Combat Craig. He's also sneaking around here. Again, watch his videos too. He puts out way more than we do, and he's got a lot of great info in his.
A lot of help for you there.
All right, last one from Highway. I have been receiving 70% PTSD. I just filed for sleep apnea and had a C&P exam last week. I was denied tinnitus. They said not combat related. I have 2 Purple Hearts. I refiled, including combat photos. Helpful. Yeah, I mean, combat, it's the noise they're looking for, right? And tinnitus.
For tinnitus, they're looking for it starting during service. That's where I see most of them denied. If you say it started way after service, then a lot of them will deny it.
So yeah, you guys speak, a buddy statement would be good here, saying whether you had problem in service or not. Okay.
Or your statement, because the
Sorry,
examiner would have said you said it didn't start in service.
Okay. All right, folks, we are out of time. Carol's jumping out of her seat to go get some appeals done.
Oh no, you're taking me to lunch.
Oh, I'm taking her to lunch. Okay. So thank you all for joining today. We appreciate all your questions. Again, I know we can't answer all of them, but we try to get through what we can while we're here. We appreciate your service, and we look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Have a safe week.